Tropes. It's how we market books nowadays. More and more and more, we see it as kind of like the backbone of modern book writing. This is largely because of book talk, but honestly, diving into that and whether this is a good or a bad thing is a different video in and of itself. What I do know is that there are definitely some tropes that we should leave in the past, and that there are some that deserve a bit more recognition. So in this video, I'll be diving into 25 of the most common villain tropes, tier ranking them, because I like lists and it's fun. So let's get right to it. First up, I'm wearing my own merch. And if that is cringy, then I embrace the cringe. I designed this as a joke, and now I own it. If you want your very own I Heart Villains t-shirt, then you can get it in the link in description. Actually really comfortable, and it fits me exactly the way I want it to. This is the cropped shirt for reference. So why don't we dive right in, since we're appropriately garbed, to our tiers. So up top, as the greatest thing you can be, is now that is what I'm talking about, which is the tier for all things villain that I'm just like, yes, you're gonna become one of my favorites. That is what I want when I talk about a villain. The tier right below that is yes, evil queen, slay. Because I see what they're doing, you know. Is it top tier iconic? No, but they are owning that villainy. The middle tier is I see you, like I see that they're trying, A for effort. Then is you ain't no mastermind, which is pretty self-explanatory, honestly. This is the tier for things that I'm just like, that wasn't the smartest move, bro, but I can see that you tried. And then the bottom tier is cosplaying as the lead villain. This is for those side villain henchmen that just really want to be the big bad, but they don't have it in them. Why don't we just dive right in with our first thing? First up, we have explains their master plan. This has cosplay written all over to me. They're literally like, look, I'm the big bad. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to be the big bad. That goes in the bottom tier for sure. I'm also going to give writing advice with all of these, of course. That is what I do. But I figure we could have some fun. This is kind of bad because it's almost always coupled with something that I will be talking about later on. Here it is. I'll just talk about them both at the same time. Villain leaves the hero alive. I'm also putting that in cosplaying as the lead villain, because both of them read like a character who's trying to convince you that they're the villain, but doesn't really have it in them. From a practical writing standpoint, let me just kind of explain why these irk me. When a villain explains why they're doing what they're doing, how they're doing it, like they have their whole explaining their master plan moment, it kind of makes it boring. It doesn't matter how cool their master plan was, you've just had it spelled out for you instead of getting to experience it. And it's almost always coupled with the villain leaving the hero alive. Even if they say they're not going to do it forever, like they're like, I'm just going to leave you alive long enough to explain my master plan for whatever weird reason. It's always used as like the hero uses that time and like comes back stronger than ever, whatever. It just really undermines the threat of a villain, in my opinion. And I just really feel like they make your villain seem like less of a threat, because the longer that a villain leaves a hero alive for no reason, this can be done once in a while well, but I'd say on the most part, if the villain's goal was to kill the hero, they shouldn't leave them alive, because it instantly makes them no longer threatening. You can come up with reasons why the villain can't kill the character, or you could come up with a reason for the hero to get away, but having the villain have the character at their mercy and then just leaving them alive anyway is always going to make them seem less intimidating. Next, we have killing their followers. I'm going to put that in I see you, because I see that they are trying to be really evil, but do they have to be that evil? I think this can be done well again, but if it's for no reason, if it's not relating in any way to like a motivation or a personality trait of the villain, if it's just to show that they're bad and evil, no. But if it's some sort of thing that ties into the plot or their character or their flaw or something, then I think it can be interesting, because it can show them being really scary. I have several villains who would totally kill their followers, but they all have reasons. It's not like every one of my villains just kills their followers willy-nilly because they're evil. Like, being evil, there's a million ways to be evil, and it doesn't necessarily mean mass murder. And a lot of times it's impractical to kill your followers. If we're just coming at it like from a practicality standpoint, like why would you kill the people who let you do what you do? It doesn't make any sense. So I think this can be executed well, but you have to be careful about the intention and the motivation behind it. Wait, what is... It reloaded! Why did it do that? I just lost my whole tier list. Okay, we're back. We're back in business. Pointless cruelty. I'm going to put that in I see you. Similarly to killing their followers, I think that this can be executed well, but it is often not. And it is often just kind of like, well, they're evil, of course they're mean. Basically, my whole thing is villains are characters, they're not plot devices. I actually have a video coming up kind of more about that. Antagonistic characters who are characters in their own right. They're not just plot devices. So make sure to subscribe so you can check out next week's video, which will be all about how to write compelling antagonists that are their own characters, not just a plot device. Next is We're Not So Different, You and I. And honestly, yes, Evil Queen slay. I love villains that kind of have a point and heroes who kind of do the wrong thing for the right reasons. I don't always love when the villains point it out. Like, a lot of times those scenes I think are... I'm sorry. It's very loud in the background right now, and I apologize. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. Just ignore the bells and the singing and all of that. Anyway, I don't always love the scenes where it's pointed out. I think they can be done well, but a lot of times it feels like the villain's just been like, we're not so different. And the hero's like, no, we're so different. And then they're like, we're not different, we're the same. I kind of like the subtext of a story telling you, we're not so different, you and I. So conceptually, I love it. I don't always love the way it's done, but I think that if it's done well, it's really, really cool, and it adds a lot of dimension, not only to the villain, but to the hero. Incompetent henchmen. Technically, I can't say they're cosplaying as the main villain, but they're cosplaying as a villain. You know what? No, I'll move it up. You ain't no mastermind. Look, in the right setting, an incompetent henchman can be funny, and it can also set off interesting scenes with a villain, but a lot of the time, they kind of just make the villain less cool and less intimidating. So I think it's not necessarily my favorite thing. I don't really use them myself, but I have seen them executed in a way that I enjoyed, so I can't hate on it too much. Betrayal. Now that is what I'm talking about. I will always love a betrayal plot line. It makes it hit so much harder if it's personal. It's one of my favorite things in writing. A good betrayal and a good redemption. Maybe both for the same character. Oh, it's so good. It's so great. There's honestly not much to say about it because you know what a betrayal is. If you like them, you should read my books. Never trust anyone. Next is innocent appearance. I'm gonna put this in I see you because I like it. On the one hand, I like when a character you would never guess turns out to be scary, but I do think it tends to play into a lot of tropes. Trying to make a character seem innocent and naive and then having them turn out to be the villain is cool. But a lot of times to make them seem innocent and naive, they play into tropes that I don't like. So if it can be done without tropes that I find frustrating, like making them like, oh, I'm so sweet and perfect, then I'm all about that. But when it's like, oh, I just look like the cutest little sweetheart, and then they turn out to be scary, like I've seen it a million times, I'm kind of over it. But if it can be executed in a new and interesting way where it actually catches me off guard, then that's very interesting. Manipulative liar. Now in real life they suck, but in fiction, yes, Evil Queen slay. I love a manipulative villain. I love a lying villain. I think that what a character will lie about is even more interesting than what a character would be honest about. What a character would lie about tells us so much more about them because they're going out of their way to obscure things. They're going out of their way to hide things. It means that matters to them in one way or another, whether it's positive or negative or whatever. So a lying character is very interesting to me, even more than an honest one. I love that. Beyond redemption. Yes, Evil Queen. Slay. There's so many ways you can go with this. There's a character that is beyond redemption and a hero has to come to terms with the fact that they can't save them. There's a character who realizes they were wrong and wants to be redeemed but is beyond redemption and knows this about themselves. There's a character who's maybe wasn't terrible but did something terrible that took them in their mind beyond redemption, and so now it's just gone down a really dark path. There's so many interesting ways that you can play with a character who feels like, or other people feel like, they could never change and they've done too many terrible things that they can't be redeemed. I think that's really interesting. And especially like, what if they repent and they try to be redeemed? what do you do if they've done these horrible, horrible things? Like, how do you address that? Like, if you can't redeem them, but they're asking for redemption. Like, it's just all so interesting. There's so much nuance to that. Right after that is redemption arc. That's going in now. That is what I'm talking about. Almost all of my favorite characters, I feel like, have had redemption arcs, especially in like animated media. They tend to be very prevalent, I feel like. I love them. I love them so much. A redemption arc is amazing because it requires so much growth, and I love getting to see a character be evil. They go on such a journey. If you want more tips on how to write different types of character arcs, including redemption arcs, I have several videos. I will link videos on character arcs up above. Ancient evil. I see you, but I don't necessarily always love you. I think that an ancient evil can be really interesting, and I think it can be cool, fascinating, and you can do lots of things with it. It's just not my personal favorite. I'm always gonna fall more into the camp of I love an evil person. I like ancient evil in theory, but I feel like a lot of times ancient evil goes hand in hand with the character is shown as evil with no remorse and no nuance. They're just evil, and that's less interesting to me. So maybe if it's like an ancient evil that has become evil over the years and used to be benevolent, or like something like, who knows, that could be more interesting to me. Ambition is evil. You ain't no mastermind, but it's about the writer. I'm sorry, that sounds so mean, but ambition isn't evil. A lot of evil characters are ambitious, but ambition itself isn't evil. I am ambitious. I am a freaking Slytherin. I spend tons of time thinking about like how to build a career. I think that ambition is a trait that like I admire in people. You can do bad things with ambition. You could do bad things for ambition, and I don't necessarily approve of that, obviously. But I think ambition in and of itself is not evil, and I feel like a lot of times we see it portrayed as such, and that doesn't make sense to me. Almost everybody has ambitions of one kind or another, and it can be interesting to watch a story where the corruption arc where ambition consumes someone. I'd be into that. I'd say yes, evil queen slay to that. But the idea of ambition being evil, that is just false. That's just a misconception, and therefore I say no. Affably evil. If I remember correctly, this means they're like evil, but they're very like friendly and like, oh yeah, here, have some tea while I tell you that I'm gonna murder your family. I say now that is what I'm talking about. I love these characters. I love when a character is evil, but they've got other stuff going on. Personal vendetta. I see you. I'm all for personal vendetta. I personally tend to like characters who end up with a personal vendetta over the course of the story. Like, I don't necessarily want like a story where we start out and they already have a personal vendetta, because then we're missing all the tea. We didn't get the tea, and that's not fun. I like stories in which things are already happening and over the course of the story it becomes personal, or personal vendetta forms. Like one of my stories that I haven't even started writing it, but it's one of my favorite stories that I've ever come up with. And one of the characters, he's like an anti-hero. Now he's complicated is what he is. But anyway, he starts the story, he's in this horrible situation with somebody else that will over the course of the story become this all-consuming personal vendetta on his side. We get to see that progression. We get to see it consume him and become so personal, end of vendetta and all of that. So I like that. I like when we get to see it grow. I don't necessarily always love when we're just like told that these people hate each other and then we're like, I guess they hate each other. Like that's kind of like, I want to see it happen. Misguided hero. Yes, evil queen slay. I love a misguided hero. I love a hero who took it too far. It's so good. It's, you know what, no, I'm putting that now. That is what I'm talking about. It got upgraded. It's so much more interesting to me than just like a villain who's just doing evil things for personal gain. Like someone who thinks they're the good guy. That is great. That gives you so much to work with. That makes them a character in their own right. And I love the idea of almost having a dark hero going against your main hero. You know, like maybe they both have the same goal. Maybe they're both just going about it in the different ways, and it just gives you so much more nuance to play with. Fake friendly villain. I love a good friendly villain, like affably evil, but fake friendly is also fun. I'll put that in yes, evil queen slay, because I love myself a liar, like I said, so fakeness is right there with it, because I think it's fun and it catches you off guard, and in the same way that I like a manipulative lying character, someone who's very fake about their personality and their real intentions is just as interesting to me in that same way of like, oh, well, why? And like, it makes you want to peel back the layers. Villain couple. Now that is what I'm talking about. I love villain couples. It is messy. It is awesome. I recently finished watching Andor, and that has an amazing villain couple. Like one of my favorite. They were probably my favorite thing about the whole show. You want them to get a happy ending because you can tell they love each other, but also they're manipulative and horrible people, and you don't want them to get a happy ending. But also you want them to get a happy end. It's like it adds so much to it. I love the complexity you can add, and also it gives your villain a bit of a heart. And I think that everybody has one of those, no matter how corrupted it may be. Love makes you evil. That's complicated. I'm gonna say I see you, because I think that a character who does it all out of love and ends up chasing away their loved ones or something along those lines, like kind of like Viren and Claudia in The Dragon Prince. Their whole thing is like, everything I've done for my family, everything I've done for love, and they've done horrible things. It's really tragic to watch them go down that path. And I love that kind of a villain. They're some of my favorite characters probably ever. But I think that it can be done poorly. Like, I think you have to understand how they started down that road and how it got twisted. Instead of just having your character be like, I love you, and then doing something terrible and be like, I did it for you. Like, you need to see and understand how they got to that dark place. You have to see the progression. You have to see it get steadily worse. Unless it's something like really sudden, you know, like crazy moment in their life and they have to like make a choice, and they make the choice. It's just a job. I see you. I definitely have had characters like this, and I will have more. I think that a villain who really couldn't care less about you personally, it is just a job to them, has a certain level of weight and terrifyingness to them because they really don't care. They're just doing a job, and you are that job. There's something cold and efficient about it that I really like. But I think it has to be done well. You have to understand why they'd go through all of that for this job. You have to understand why they took this job. No, it reloaded again. Okay, so it just reloaded again. I lost everything, and I'm not remaking and redoing all of that for a third time. You get 20 instead of 25. Sorry. I apologize deeply. Blame my iPad. It's mean. It actually, we bought it to link up to an Apple Pencil, and it won't link up to the Apple Pencil, so it just hates me. It actually does. But I enjoyed talking about those tropes. I will definitely be doing more of this kind of video in the future. I really enjoy making them. Let me know if there are any villain tropes down in the comments that you dislike or like, and let me know any other like categories of tropes that you would like me to review in the future. And of course, if you have examples of them, because I can add them to the tier list. I'm gonna go eat a banana muffin. I don't really get desserts in the house anymore, so I'm like very excited about that. I've maybe thinking about it the whole time, so maybe my iPad quit. It wasn't being evil, it just knew I really wanted to go eat a muffin. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry the ending was so abrupt. It wasn't intentional. And if, like I said, if you want to pick up your very own I Heart Villains shirt, check it out in the description. And I will see you next week to talk about how to do villains well and how to take all the things that we've kind of like talked about here and like add that nuance I kept referring to and saying I loved to a villain, making them a character in their own right. That is what we will be doing next week, and I will see you on the next page. Till then.